and welcome to the show. It is so good to be back, tuning in from sunny southern Marbella, Spain. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Today I'm going to do things a little bit differently again, and I'm going to give you the exact answers to what you're looking for before the show, and I'll get into the reasons why throughout the end of the show. So we'll be doing some Bitcoin updates on exactly where Bitcoin will be by the end of this month into the beginning of March, as well as Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, saying that our fiscal path in the US is unsustainable. We all knew that. That's why we're here in crypto, crushing it every single day, just under 70 days to the Bitcoin halving, and why as little as 0.01 Bitcoin could actually be life-changing in the next 5 to 10 years. A set it and forget it play in your cold storage, let it ride. All that and more in today's episode. So here's what to expect in the coming weeks to the following month of March. Bitcoin will either be at $30,000 or $55,000 within the next 2 weeks to 1 month. That's right, this is a game of statistics, and as we are coming into a period of very low volatility, things are about to get crazy. Now, will it be a pump to the upside or a dump to the downside? Time will tell. As of now, we are favoring the correction to the downside toward the lower $30,000, and I'll explain why in this episode, but it is nothing to be alarmed about, as I have been warning on this channel for so long. 30 to 50% corrections in a bull run around this time are par for the course, and the truth of the matter is, when we get highly extended above the critical moving averages, then we usually correct back down into them. So I'm going to be explaining exactly what my strategy will be coming into this possible Bitcoin pumpage or dumpage, as well as 3 altcoins that are set to moon. I'll be showing you those at the end of the video, along with charts and my reasonings for that, and covering some very hot topics in the news as we gear up for one of the most explosive years in crypto history. So without further ado, I'm your host, Megan Nelson, aka Crypto Megan, and let's dive right into it. Okay, so jumping right into it, one of my favorite analysts on Twitter is Plan B. I love the stock to flow model and kind of just zooming out on things in general, as you'll see in this episode. But he says here, Bitcoin's 200-week moving average is at $31,000 right now. When Bitcoin's price diverges from the 200-week moving average in accumulation, the blue zone, so it's an important fact to note, in accumulation and bull markets, orange red, Bitcoin has never gone below the 200-week moving average. So 31,000 might be the absolute floor, and Bitcoin might never see 31,000 ever again, in my opinion. Also, the 200-week moving average is rising. That's pretty powerful. I mean, this is like back tested since, the conception of this indicator, and since 2013. So there's a lot of kind of data points to go on, not a ton like other assets, but it's very interesting to look at all of these factors that provide confluence for our overall thesis. So Bitcoin's just had this massive pump today. We're above 45,000. People are excited, but what do I think? We can always range and vary in Bitcoin, but what I will take from this is that generally this area is a really good time to be buying the dip. Bull markets are for buying the dip. So what I want to revert your attention back to is what I said in the intro, that Bitcoin is either going to hit 33,000 by the end of this month or 55,000 and nothing in between. So currently we're on this run, and I'll play a clip soon for you from Krown, one of my favorite analysts, and show you some charts that provide even more confluence that a big move is coming. So the 5-day momentum oscillator is at all-time lows in volatility right now, and we're going to have a big explosive move. What we don't know is the direction of that move. However, and Krown talks about this a lot on his analysis channel, his technical analysis channel. Depending on the direction of the stochastic oscillator, meaning the momentum at the time, whether it's pointed down or up, can provide a lot of good indication as far as statistics go, whether that pump will be up or down. And at the current time of recording, that oscillator is still downward, and the price to break above, in order for that to be invalidated, the big price to break above is $46,400 on a closing basis. And then we can start looking at maybe this is a reversal. So until then, it could potentially be a trap, and we could have one more leg down, to which I am more biased toward based on the indicators that I've been looking at. But that being said, if 31,000 is going to be the absolute floor, like Plan B says, and just everything we have in the works, like the Bitcoin ETFs and all the inflows and the percentage allocations by these big institutions, this is going to be a really massive opportunity. Not financial advice, so do your own research, but this is how I'm playing these markets. And, I'm buying the dip. So moving right along, what I said before about zooming out, this is a really simple, very oversimplification of what I'm talking about, but it says, remember to zoom out on life and your goals. Don't get caught up in the day-to-day noise. Improve one day at a time and enjoy the process. And that is what this is about. You will win if you master your emotions. And I'd love to bring up Tim Draper, Bitcoin billionaire Tim Draper. I've brought him up on pretty much every episode because I just had him as a podcast guest, and he is just absolutely, his mentality is next to none. And if you want to win in life, you have to study successful mentalities. When he acquired, he called it bidding, like the highest bidder in the room for a painting. He put a bid in on the Silk Road auction for Bitcoin that was confiscated from the Silk Road, and his bid was at $600. And he thought he was going to get one or two lots. He got them all. And so people were like making fun of him, like, oh, wow, you're the highest bidder in the room. Look at you. And then a few weeks later, Bitcoin tanked to $180. So I asked him, like, what did you think at that time? Were you panicking? Did you think it was, you made the wrong decision? And he said, well, the way that I thought about this is it's either going to work and pretty much infinitely go up, or it's not going to work and it's going to go to zero. So either way, it wouldn't really matter, because either way, he would either lose his money altogether or would go on to do great things. And that's how I look at this. I have conviction in this for the long term, for the future, and you'll see now some really powerful messaging from Satoshi himself when Bitcoin was conceived, that this could be life-changing, even a small amount if you want to store it over time. Now, I have a different strategy for my active portfolio, in which I will be taking profits at the end of this bull run to reinvest in 2026, but I also believe that I want to have a set it and forget it, cold storage, lock it up, save it for the years, 5 to 10 years down the road, and then that's going to be worth a lot of money, and maybe not even valued in dollars anymore, probably valued in Satoshis as we shift our entire monetary system. So a lot to unpack in that. But, here it is. Satoshi Nakamoto on absolute scarcity of Bitcoin at less than 0.01 cents, exactly 14 years ago. Only 21 million, eventually at most, only 21 million coins for 6.8 billion people in the world. And in that case, 0.01 Bitcoin, which costs you under $500 right now, if it goes up to 10 million, like Michael Saylor says, like a lot of people have said, if this actually becomes what it could become, if our monetary system changes, collapses, if the dollar is going to go down like it looks like it is in flames, well then that could potentially be worth $100,000 in dollar terms. Although if we're not even pricing anything in dollars anymore, I mean, who knows? It could be very life-changing to make that investment now, set it and forget it. And now I want to make a comment on the economy because, everybody's telling us that everything's okay, it's all under control, inflation's coming down, it's all good. And yet we have news like this. Credit card debt delinquency rates surged more than 50% in 2023 to their highest level since 2008, according to the New York Fed. Last quarter alone, total credit card debt in the U.S. jumped from $50 billion to a record $1.13 trillion. Auto loan delinquency rates also surged, all whilst interest rates on credit card debt hit a record 25% and new card loan rates hit 9%. Credit is fake money. Don't fall for the fake money trap. Get Bitcoin. Yeah. And especially bad credit. There's good credit when you leverage it to get assets that will actually make you money, and there's bad credit, like credit card debt, that's just, dragging you down. So I thought that was worth noting. And this is all leading up to the grand thesis that we must make a change and we must act now before everybody's actually panicking and running. In the bank run of all bank runs, which I'll be making an episode on, you want to have your Bitcoin in place before that happens. And next up, here I want to play this video for you from our Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve Chair about how we're on an unsustainable path. I mean, this is crazy that he's actually coming out and saying, hey, I don't actually think it's all under control like we think it is. Check it out.
unsustainable fiscal path. The U.S. federal government's on an unsustainable fiscal path, and that just means that the debt is growing faster than the economy.
I have the sense this worries you very much.
Over the long run, of course it does. You know, we're borrowing from future generations. It's time for us to get back to putting a priority on fiscal sustainability, and sooner is better than later. The U.S. is on an
And sooner is better than later. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Borrowing from future generations. And actually, Robert Kiyosaki talked about that. I know a lot of people don't like him on this channel, but I always say, just take what you like and leave the rest. If somebody has an interesting idea, why not take whatever value you can from it, regardless of how you feel about the person, right? And he says that the biggest criminality of all is that the U.S. economy is propped up actually on college student loans. And don't get me started on that whole thing, because, the wheel that you're born into, and you start your life with $100,000 to $200,000 in debt as a U.S. American on average, if you go to, public or private school, it's just a system that's meant to keep you trapped. And this is a way out. This is a way out, and everybody has access to it. And that is big. That is a big idea. So it's time to get some Bitcoin, guys. It's time to get some Bitcoin. So next up, I'm going to play for you a video from Eric Krown describing what I was talking about before, about the time frame, the prices of Bitcoin, and exactly what to expect at the end of this month based on his analysis and the stochastic momentum oscillator. And then we're going to go on to look at some charts. So let's have a look.
So yeah, again, as long as Bitcoin is below this, so downside is going to be more likely. Just statistically speaking, that is what it is. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't rally up to this region. In fact, I think that's actually rather likely, perhaps in this next, maybe in the more near term, in this next week. But you would be expecting closures below there if downside is going to continue. Anyway, main message for today is that I do believe that this is the bounce that we've been looking for. I mean, quite obviously. The question is now, is this bounce an actual reversal, or is this an actual trap? And for right now, there's not really much to be said about it, because it hasn't cleared any one of the critical regions. This is kind of like the kill zone as far as I'm concerned, because a lot of people are going to get super bullish from this or super bearish from this, just from $1,000 moves. And realistically, it's not doing anything, is my point. Below 43,500, okay, we have a bit of a change of behavior right there. Downside in the more near term becomes more likely, probably looking at a move back down to like 40,000 bucks. But until then, short term probably fills out the space over here. If you're going to be bearish, you're looking for rejections over here. If you're going to be bullish, you want to see closures above here, I would say, in no less than the next couple closing periods on those 5-day time frames. So yeah, this is it. Is it 55,000 or is it 30,000? Because again, these statistics can very much easily apply to the other side. And for right now, they do apply to the downside. 35% move puts you at just below 32,000 bucks. 40% moves puts you at 29,000 bucks. So again, this setup is still, it's maturing. It's not quite there just yet. That's why I do say, back half of February is where we likely see resolution on this one. And this is very, 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 very likely going to get the next major direction. So essentially we're looking at probably by beginning of like March, you're probably going to see Bitcoin either at like 55,000 bucks, or you're probably going to see it down around 30, low 30s, or at least minimum like mid 30s. So this is, kind of a big pivot as of right now, especially as Bitcoin's been more or less sideways for the past like month and a half.
And here we have some charts on Bitcoin. We're currently breaching the $45,000 level in a massive, massive green candle. This is the 2-hour chart. So these are the fib levels on a 2-hour chart. And as you can see, we have a lot of resistance here at the 0.786 fib, just around that area that I was telling you guys about, and that Krown speaks about, and that a lot of top tier analysts are looking at. Like, can we break above this $46,000 to $47,000 level and hold? Then that could be a different scenario. But until then, it could just be, that pump that we've been expecting throughout this entire time before we have the next and possibly last leg down before continuing on with the bull run. So that's something to think about. And here I've got Bitcoin's chart showing the stochastic RSI here and Bitcoin's levels, and I've marked this off clearly. You see all the confluence at this $46,400 level. I mean, this is a massive zone of support and resistance. And, it's going to be critical to break above that. I am not of the tier, I don't believe, it doesn't matter what I believe, to be honest, but I don't think based on all the charts and data and studying previous cycles that I've seen that it would be something that Bitcoin would do right now. But if it did, we have to shift our thesis and we have to say, okay, if we're sustainably breaking above this point, then we'll look to Eric Krown's targets and the extended fib levels around $55,000 and potentially then marching on up to all-time highs. I mean, it is a possibility, so we must stay open to it, but we are gearing up, brewing up for a massive move. And I did speak about this on a fib time-based chart in one of my previous episodes where I said that actually Valentine's Day was a massive intersection in a time-based fib chart. So it's all kind of lining up to this confluence that we are going to have a massive move sometime in the next 2 weeks, and that'll be the start of either the pumpage or the dumpage. So so what is the plan then? What is my game plan, you might be wondering? Okay, altcoins. I'm buying altcoins now. I'm averaging in now. Theta is still under $1. Theta is one of the sleeping gems I'm going to talk about at the end. I'm averaging in simply because you don't know what is going to happen. And so if we do get the dump, then I might double down and buy more than I have been buying. And so I'm just seeing this all as a massive opportunity. And basically what happens from here until the halving and just after the halving is you could close your eyes and wait and just pick back up after that if it's too stressful for you. I'm telling you, we don't have to overcomplicate things, and timing the market is not the way to go to be a successful investor. Are you a trader or are you an investor? And so that's how I'm thinking. And as far as if you're waiting to buy Bitcoin or not, well, now that we've reached this point, I would say the play here is to see if we break below around $43,500, then we're most likely going to come back down to 40,000 and possibly below. And if we break above this level and we hold above it, then we can expect it to pump a little bit harder. So that's just the key things to have in mind about Bitcoin. I'm not buying Bitcoin right now at this price level. And that's just how I'm playing this. And so now we're going to get on to ETF news. Bitcoin ETFs means substitution from gold into Bitcoin will continue, says Cathie Wood. While Bitcoin's price is often denominated against fiat currencies, Wood pointed out that even relative to gold, Bitcoin has risen consistently since its early days. And we know this. We know that it's consistently produced bigger returns than gold, and even more so now with this easy access that the institutions have. By extension, the possible effects of the first spot Bitcoin ETFs are likened to the effect the first gold ETF had. The yellow metals price surged over 250% in 7 years following its first ETF in 2004. I mean, which seems like very small move compared to what Bitcoin does. It's really interesting. And then we have here some analysis on the inflows and outflows. And here's the step chart that shows each day. So the daily change in Bitcoin held by American ETFs through February 7th. 9th consecutive net positive day with 3,150 net Bitcoin added. Big day for FBTC and BITB. Wow. So the last 9 consecutive days have been positive inflows for the ETFs, and BlackRock is buying up your Bitcoin. If you're selling to BlackRock if you're selling on these dips, basically you're selling to BlackRock. So just know that. And make sure you have a strategy in place. And don't get confused. You're either a trader or you're an investor. And if you try to be something in between, you're probably going to get burned. And here we have by Eric Balkunas, one of the best ETF analysts out there, says, next wave of U.S. ETF bulls coming from abroad as global funds lag. It isn't just China investors, but Europe and Canada locals are also rushing to buy U.S.-focused ETFs as flow percentage way higher than assets under management percentage for most regions. Awesome note today from these two people. So it's saying global liquidity is gearing up to come into this. And can you blame them? Check out these weak sauce beat rates for non-US ETFs versus S&P. Only 10% of them are outperforming in the past year, 4% over 5 years. How could you not get serious FOMO? That said, this is big time perfect chasing and could end in tears. So FOMO isn't just something that happens to retail investors. It can happen across the board. It can happen with institutions, with countries. All eyes are on the U.S. because everybody is looking to the U.S. to create policy. It's the biggest source of liquidity in the world in these markets. And so people are gearing up, but China's getting ready to launched their Bitcoin ETF in all these different countries, and we're just getting started. We're just scratching the tip of the iceberg here. It's kind of like I envision it as a Wolf of Wall Street style kind of thing, where people are just there calling up those boomers and they're being like, hey, you know, you got to get your money into Bitcoin. It's now or never, and just kind of like all hands on deck style. So it takes some time for the education. It's not instantaneous, but it happens over time. And then you have this interesting analysis from British HODL. There you have it. Conservative is 1% Bitcoin. 1% with Fidelity plus BlackRock equals assets under management $145 billion buy. With a BOFA bull market multiplier, that's an additional $17.1 trillion to market cap. An additional $814,000 per Bitcoin price. Except now it's not YouTubers and Twitter people saying it. It's the best asset managers in the world. That's powerful. It's not just us anymore, guys. Although, you know, they can do whatever they want, say whatever they want. We're going to tune out their noise because here it's just us. And he's saying it's the best asset managers in the world, and they're saying it out loud and proudly. You think they weren't analyzing the same things I've been saying since 2021. Fidelity has a 1 to 3% allocation in their all-in-one asset allocation funds in Canada using spot Bitcoin ETFs. The conservative version is posted below. So he's talking about like hitting a $17 trillion market cap, which is insane. I mean, and that's his conservative estimate. I believe that this cycle we can hit a $10 trillion market cap, total market cap for all crypto. And, you know, anything above that would just be a bonus. But it's definitely possible with this now accessible on-ramp through these ETFs. And now on to our precious altcoins. Here we have altcoin market cap broke out of massive Wyckoff accumulation phase. Price is currently consolidating above the point of breakout, expecting an explosive move soon. Shared the exact Bitcoin and altcoin bottom. Now I've started researching and investing small part of my portfolio in mid caps and low caps. What I've been telling you, I am investing in, well, large to mid caps right now and some small caps. The next 12 to 18 months are going to be exciting for altcoins. Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. We've got some bangers in the portfolio, and some of them, which I did a video, which is exclusive on today's crypto platform on one coin that has been in the top 10 that I believe could do a 100x. So go and check that out. Let's see if you can guess which one I'm talking about. And it says here, diversifying into altcoins among different narratives is a smart move to potentially increase your Bitcoin holdings. Of course, we're focused on altcoins because we don't want to just store our wealth. We want to build our wealth. And it goes way beyond storing your wealth in Bitcoin. But in our world, that is kind of how we think. Some altcoins might 100x while others might underperform. Majority holding stays in Bitcoin. This is your last chance to make it big. Dips and shakeouts are for buying. I love this analysis, although I don't agree with him on your last chance to make it big. I think this is a twofold thing. I think that no matter what allocation you go in with, you should be thinking, what money can I set aside to buy the massive dip in the next bear market in 2026 and scoop up the blood in the streets? Okay, so this is like, maybe, you know, we won't get the prices that we've seen from this cycle, but we will have another opportunity. And so compounding those gains over time is important. And here it shows the Wyckoff accumulation he's talking about, and that we've broken out of that, the altcoin market cap. And here it shows that we could have one final dip and then off we go. Sky is the limit. So I'm going to show you now a chart that I shared with you when I started my 200 days to Bitcoin halving countdown. This is from November, December, and we were retesting the $400 billion level. And we had this possible double bottom here, which is signaling a massive breakout as well. And these are the levels: 441 billion, 520 billion, and 602 billion. And so here we are today at 493 billion. So just under the first target, which is 520 billion, the second target, sorry. And we could potentially go all the way up here to 602 billion before this run is done, if Bitcoin does just decide to take off and go to 55,000. So yeah, this could be the beginning of a breakout for altcoins. We're entering a lower level of volatility. It looks like we're going to have a big move across all fronts. And of course, the altcoins will pretty much follow what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin is the driver in the driver's seat. So it's going to be interesting to see in these coming weeks, kind of a make it or break it moment for Bitcoin. And in all honesty, if it does correct, it's just only healthy for the market to kind of consolidate, move sideways, flush leverage out and start over and get ready for the actual big run. And just a few little pieces of news on altcoins. Solana, the network has stopped processing transactions due to an outage. Solana went down again. I don't like this. I've been very vocal about this on Solana for many reasons. But yet the price was not that affected by this news. And Ivan on Tech was explaining that there's not a lot of DeFi transactions happening on Solana, which is probably why people don't get so panicked about it. But still, it's something that I'm not a fan of, how often Solana goes out versus other chains like Cardano. Cardano gang, let me know if you're here. I wanted to show you, despite that, just how strong the Solana chart looks. So here we are. We're just hovering in the support here in this what could be symmetrical triangle. And the strategy is to buy the breakout, and the next levels, the farthest target is $116, and then reassessing from there. But, if Bitcoin stays intact, if the move is up, Solana's going to have another big move and was not greatly affected by this news. Just goes to show I'm not very super bullish on Solana long-term unless a lot of things change, but the community is, a lot of people are, and the NFT community is super strong. And so I can't ignore it, and it is in my portfolio, but I am concerned about this long-term. Next up, I thought this was really big news. GoDaddy partners with Ethereum name services to allow users to connect domain names with ENS names. So ENS is like a .eth. Like I have cryptomegan.eth. So now I can connect that to an actual website domain. And that's big because, people were speculating so much on ENS domains. I mean, the 3-digit ones were going for thousands of dollars. And you know what, guys? I believe I've found the next ENS play. And I'm going to share that with you in my altcoin video tomorrow or on Saturday, because I believe I've found it, and you guys get a head start on it because nobody's really talking about it. So I'm excited to share that with you. And there's just going to be so many opportunities. And China. China is also going to be another topic, another video for the bank run of all bank runs. Here we have China is now taking a bunch of measures to try and turn around stock market and keep investors from leaving. She appointed this guy they call the broker butcher because he shuttered 31 firms, 25% of the industry, for violations last time he was in government to help cause whatever it is. So they've brought this guy in to kind of turn the economy around and artificially prop it up. And the Chinese money printer is probably inevitably going to be turned on because they're in a lot of hot water on other fronts as well. And one of them being EVERGRANDE. Now, I did a report on this a while back about what was happening and the dangers it was facing. And now there's new updates. EVERGRANDE, ordered to liquidate, faces an astonishing $300 billion in liabilities, ranking among the top corporate bankruptcies. A significant portion comes from down payments by Chinese home buyers, with bonds and loans exceeding $80 billion. So people in China have paid for these kind of like productions that have been happening all over China that just never got finished because they ran out of money, because things were unstable. And so they're ending up with nothing. And EVERGRANDE is now been ordered to liquidate. It's a bad situation. It is not good, and it could have a ripple effect on the economy. Sure, there are prospective buyers, Montebello's mayor says. This is a landmark that no one wants to see disappear. The end is near. Popcorn went stale years ago. I'm sorry. I'm both hopeful, skeptical, excited, scared, pissed, and I got it all. Yeah, this does not look like a good situation, and I will be doing a video on just this because I think it's really important to understand what's happening here, because this is big. And of course, THETA. I have to do an update on THETA. As you know, well, in my exclusive video on today's crypto, which you should check out, I talked about THETA, and they're doing a lot of partnerships, one of which is with the Golden Knights. They just kind of airdropped tickets to the booth, the VIP booth, to go see the Golden Knights as, one of the VIP benefits for some of the members on THETA Drop, which is their NFT marketplace, which I use all the time and I absolutely love. So they're doing advertising all around the Las Vegas Golden Knights hockey rink and getting massive exposure. And the price does not reflect what's happening there. So THETA is still one of my number one sleeping gems. And then we've got a little news on Link. Whale grabs $50 million of Chainlink's Link as price climbs 40% in a month. That is huge. Big things are happening with Link, also coming in the next video, so stay tuned for that. But I don't think LINK is going to stay around these prices for long. Triple digit LINK incoming, and I'm talking like well past $100. That is what I foresee in the near future because of all of these upgrades and all the news coming and partnerships. I mean, everybody is going to be using LINK. And I'm gonna show you some really interesting footage on that. And lastly, XRP. I know all you XRP lovers there. I get a lot of comments from you guys. You want to see more XRP stuff. Here it is. This is it. This chart is looking pretty bullish. We've had this falling wedge now for quite a while, and it's by the breakout of this 52-cent level. Although I will say that the price to watch for XRP when we will see fireworks is 75 cents. Once we break 75 cents, we are skyrocketing, guys. We are going places after that. So I am really excited for this year. And don't stress these moves. Don't overanalyze. Don't get anxious. Tune out the noise and just relax. Just relax and let it play out and stick to your strategy. That's all for today. I'll see you tomorrow.